if you see the RC fleet running around with steering wheels, that's because we had to figure out how to test it. They're not for sale or whatever. That's just a test feature only. And actually, I think it's straight out of the Cybertruck wheel, so it's like not even a bespoke thing. But
welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Figured that was an appropriate intro for what the Cybertruck account said to Farzad, saying, "That's mine. I let the robotaxi borrow since it won't need it for long." That, of course, referring to the steering wheels that can currently be seen in the Cybercabs that are testing across the country. We now have Cybercab spottings beyond just Texas and California, but now we can add New York to the list and specifically Buffalo. I'm sure it's there for winter testing, but these photos were taken when the roads were dry as a bone. Stay there long enough though, and the snow will come. And the Cybercab is no longer just testing on city streets, but it's been spotted in numerous different locations on the highway as well. Here's a better shot to show you the Cybertruck Squircle in the Cybercab. And this afternoon, the official robotaxi account said DeCab, sharing a picture of the Cybercab outside of Wrigley Field, which of course means the Cybercab is also now testing in Chicago, Illinois. This video was shared of a Cybercab with a California plate testing on the highways in Texas. I shared this because I've heard a rumor. I cannot vouch for the source, so please do not take this with any type of certainty, but the word is that Tesla may end Model S and X production at Fremont to eventually make Cybercabs instead. And listen, if this turns out to be true, which is a big if, it may not happen for a long time. But if we see some of these prototypes being built and assembled in Fremont, that would make the rumor a bit more plausible, as we know the main production of the Cybercab will be from Giga Texas when it starts in April. As I've said before, I hope this one is not true. I want the Model S and X to stick around for as long as possible. I like the idea of Tesla having flagship vehicles that people can move up to aspirationally. I like the idea of them being used for a premium robotaxi ride. In the event a group wants to travel with more than 2 people before the Robovin is ready, but we'll see. Then we had Tesla Chan sharing this image of a Cybercab appearing to be towed, or getting ready to be towed, with absolutely no context. They didn't share what was going on or what happened, and sadly I was not able to find any more information. Either way, it does not look like it was in any type of accident, and prototypes being towed is absolutely nothing out of the ordinary. The very reason these vehicles are out on the roads are to do testing and to work through the bugs, of which there will be some. And Adon Guajardo shared this nice short little video with a good shot of the big 21-inch screen on the Cybercab in the parking lot of Terry Black's in Austin. So we will of course see many more sightings of the Cybercab testing across the country over the next few months as we approach production, and I'm most excited to see the wireless charging out in the wild. For now though, I believe I remember hearing the Cybercab has a temporary charge port for these prototypes, perhaps in the trunk. But I am expecting sometime around March or April to start seeing some public wireless charging setups in both Austin and the Bay Area. Senator John Cornyn from Texas shared some images saying it was great to be with Elon at Tesla's Gigafactory outside Austin. He was also there with Senate Majority Leader John Thune and the Senate Majority Whip John Barrasso from Wyoming. Elon gave them a tour of the manufacturing lines. Elon and Lars gave them an up-close and personal look of the Cybercab. And at this meeting, I am sure Elon had his foot all the way on the accelerator, pushing for accelerated timelines for the federal framework for autonomous vehicles. And remember, the House Energy Subcommittee will be hosting that hearing tomorrow, January 13th, to go over all of those different legislative options for autonomous vehicles. We all know Tesla might technically be one company, but it's really a collection of a dozen or so startups under one umbrella, but the public would never understand why. Well, there's another company where something similar applies. People just think Surfshark is a VPN, but they're now so much more than that. So yes, of course, they encrypt all of your online activity so no one, not even your ISP, knows what you're up to, as a VPN should. And if you don't yet know how critical that is in 2026, I would encourage you to take a look into how you're being tracked. But Surfshark, the sponsor of this video, also offers things like Alternative ID, which keeps your personal info private so you can have an anonymous email, address, phone number, and even name to use online when creating new accounts. They recently released the email scam checker tool, which has been awesome to have a little backup from AI to help me avoid all of the spam sponsor offers I get. They have the clean web feature that removes ads, trackers, and malware. Surfshark helps you get better deals on flights and hotels, and honestly, the list goes on and on. So if you want to check it out, you can head to surfshark.com/electrified, or you can use code electrified at checkout to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN. Just touching on it, a few days ago, Elon said roughly 10 billion miles of training data is needed to achieve safe, unsupervised self-driving. Reality has a super long tail of complexity. Some people out there are saying Elon misspoke because back in Master Plan Part 2, Elon said that we expect regulatory approval worldwide will require something on the order of 6 billion miles or 10 billion kilometers. So they're arguing Elon meant 10 billion kilometers, but I'm not sure that's the case. Remember, that guesstimate from Tesla was from July 2016, nearly a decade ago. So for Elon to even be in the same neighborhood, I think is pretty impressive. But what I think is happening here is that Elon is adjusting his prediction, and it's no longer 6 billion miles required, it's going to be 10 billion miles required. And yes, I do think that's part of why we haven't seen the safety monitors removed in Austin yet. Elon said it was going to happen by the end of last year, so I think he's coming out about a week after that deadline, giving us a new update on what his expectation is. Now, yes, this does not have to mean the safety monitors will be in vehicles for another few months. But I will say, it's certainly possible. But even if the safety monitors are removed in Austin sometime in the next few days or weeks, it sounds like we will not see unsupervised rolling out broadly anytime until Q2 and beyond. So if we add 700 million miles every 50 days, we would need another 150 days or 5 months to hit Elon's guesstimate of 10 billion miles. Some others are arguing that Elon's talking about only miles that are fed into the neural net, because remember, not all miles on FSD are actually used to train the nets. But for me personally, I do not think that is the case. I think Elon is referring to total miles traveled on FSD. And for my visual learners, CERN Basher shared this chart showing the same thing, just in visual form, that the 10 billion miles on FSD at this current pace should be hit sometime between July and August. And I know that comment from Elon can be interpreted as a negative update given the expectations, which is partially why I said this. I do think it's time for Elon to stop giving public FSD timelines. From my perspective, all these predictions are doing is getting everybody's hopes up, and then they disillusion Tesla fans when they're ultimately not met. And there's not really any upside, because if the timelines are met, then it's just the expectation. So other than super fans like you and I getting to squabble over it for a couple weeks, it really is mostly just downside. So listen, the truth is I could spend another 5 minutes trying to analyze this and break it down and figure it out. But as we've seen, Elon's guesses are just that, guesses. Lately, they have not been very accurate, and because of semantics, we really don't know what he's talking about. Does he actually mean training data that makes it into the neural nets, or just FSD miles in general? Is he talking about unsupervised for the customer fleet, or is he talking about removing safety monitors in Austin and or the Bay Area? Or does he mean unsupervised across America or globally? So for whatever it's worth, for me, I'm not reading too far into it. My main takeaway is going to be have patience throughout all of Q1 and to keep my expectations low. And Ashok said some elements of reasoning like navigation route changes during construction and parking options have already shipped in 14.2. More and more reasoning will ship in Q1. And on one hand, I enjoyed hearing that because then it made sense why the navigation routes were sometimes making such poor choices. Tesla has already shipped a new feature that we can call a second level reasoning, and apparently it's going to take some time and maybe a lot of miles to refine that feature and to get things sorted out. And you may remember I shared some FSD parking clips I had on 14.2.2.2 where I said it seemed like the car was passing by handicap or pickup spots in a way that it had not before. And what Ashok said seemed to confirm that was because of this new reasoning in the model. In somewhat of a surprise, Motor Trend, who's historically been pretty critical of Tesla, named Tesla's FSD the best driver assistance system on the market. For this year, FSD 14 is vastly improved over FSD version 12, and although it remains far from perfect, the majority of the flaws in prior versions have been addressed, while its features and capabilities have only improved. And they closed with an important message: if you've been burned by a prior version of FSD, we understand your skepticism. Many of our staff were and have been right there with you. That is, until they spent significant time behind the wheel with version 14. If you're like these folks and have an open mind, or if you're new to Tesla and FSD, we think you'll be amazed. So it's nothing you and I don't already know, but I do think it's noteworthy coming from Motor Trend, who again has not pulled any punches toward Tesla over the years. Chamath Palihapitiya made a crazy prediction for this year.
My contrarian belief number one is I don't think SpaceX will IPO. I think that it will reverse merge into Tesla, and I think Elon will use it as a moment to consolidate control and power of his two seminal assets into one cap table.
Oh my God, I love that. Wow.
Well, he's talked about that before. He's talked about having a holding company for years of all of the collection. You could put Neuralink in there too, right, Chamath? You could put in the Boring Company as well.
Listen up, referring to what JCal said, there's a huge difference between a reverse merger and a holding company. Those are not at all the same thing. And specifically what Chamath said was a reverse merger where SpaceX and Tesla at the end of the day would become one major company. That's very different than Tesla and SpaceX remaining two separate entities under one bigger umbrella. Before I even touch on this briefly, I do just want to say I think this has a near 0% chance of happening. So until Elon gives some public indication that this is a real possibility, I'm not going to dive into the weeds. But in short, a reverse merger would mean SpaceX would merge into Tesla, making SpaceX dissolve as a separate entity. And yes, it would be dilutive for Tesla shareholders because ultimately Tesla would issue new shares to give to SpaceX investors. So dilutive, yes, but accretive as well, because of course this new giant organization would have a much higher valuation too, with SpaceX included. If I had to play devil's advocate for my own opinion on this one, I would say this would give Elon an opportunity to have more control over the new entity. Maybe through a mechanism like this, Tesla could end up issuing some super voting shares to give to Elon to give him more control of both Tesla and SpaceX. But again, one of the problems is Elon has already said publicly that a 2026 SpaceX IPO was accurate. And obviously an IPO is not a reverse merger. Further, one has to believe there would be some antitrust and monopolistic concerns, and that we would see some shareholder lawsuits from Tesla and/or SpaceX investors. And yes, obviously that's not a reason not to go that route, but it's something that Elon and the team would have to consider. And remember, it wasn't just a prediction from Chamath, it was for the contrarian take segment. Said another way, it was a hot take. One that personally I don't think requires any further exploration at this point until something changes, because again, I think the chances of something like that happening are very, very low. Elon and XAI recently announced the biggest private investment in Mississippi state history. It will be a $20 billion plus investment when it's said and done. The site itself covers 800,000 square feet and will be the home of XAI's Colossus 3. Things might change in the next few months depending on what the competition does, but this is set to be the biggest data center in the world, and when it's done it will be around 2 gigawatts of coherent training compute. Why Mississippi? Well, in part because it's a chip shot away from XAI's Colossus 2 that's in Tennessee. That's what Elon and the team call macro hard, and that building is 1 million square feet. But the new building for Colossus 3 will be called macro harder, and despite the slightly smaller square footage, it will likely use the more advanced chips coming from NVIDIA. The governor of Mississippi said, why Mississippi? Elon said it best: insane execution speed. We can get you from spending money to making money faster than any state in America, and that's our competitive advantage. Remember, Elon just said Tesla's Cortex 2 for Optimus training and some level of FSD in Austin will be adding 500 megawatts or a half a gigawatt coming online sometime this summer. Meaning once the Colossus build out is done, if it does hit that 2 gigawatt number, that's 4 times bigger than Tesla's Cortex 2, which is certainly exciting to think about the AI advancements to be expected from this extra compute. However, it's not free. This will become one of the most energy intensive AI facilities in the world, and according to Elon, it could require electricity comparable to that used by about 1.5 million US homes. And maybe in a future episode we'll take a closer look, but Elon's clearly in full sprint mode, and this will of course help Grok develop new levels of sentience and capability, which will benefit Tesla vehicles and eventually Optimus. And the learnings that xAI gets from this undertaking for everything from factory design to cooling will also be shared with Tesla. As Marco shared, Tesla's planning a massive supercharger build-out on Hawaii's 2 biggest islands. Permits have been filed for 3 new sites, 2 on the island of Hawaii and 1 on the island of Maui. Looking at Tesla's map of the Hawaiian Islands, you can see only 5 supercharger locations exist now, 4 of which are on Oahu, and 1 of which is on Maui. So Hawaii will be getting 2, and Maui will be getting 1 more. After about 3 years of silence for Tesla's insurance program, we now get a couple drumbeats. Tesla has now filed to launch its insurance program in Tennessee. The proposed effective date is March 1st, 2026. And the coverager said for the first 9 months of 2025, Tesla's insurance carriers generated $747 million in written premiums. And another one, as of today, Tesla filed for their insurance program in Indiana. Same proposed effective date, March 1st this year. I have not seen anything official about how Tesla Insurance will launch in Indiana and Tennessee, because remember, now that Tesla Insurance is live in Florida, it's currently limited to buyers of new Teslas, meaning existing owners do not yet have access. But either way, when these 2 new states are added, that will be 15 states where Tesla Insurance is available. You might remember on Tesla's Q3 slide deck last year, they said we recently launched a new lease offering in the US for solar and Powerwall that provides our customers with predictable energy costs. They said it would come with a lower monthly payment compared to loans, a system availability guarantee for the full lease term, and a buyout option after 5 years. Well, a few months later, and we got news that Tesla has officially started deliveries of its new and improved solar panel design. Although subjective, the curb appeal of these panels should be improved, and the shade tolerance is now much better. These 420-watt panels remove things like the aluminum clamps and the silver frames and the gaps that expose your roof or the shingles below the traditional solar panels. The new ones have an all-black finish and a thicker frame, which gives it that unified matte black appearance. Plus, the mounting system that's now hidden means the panels only sit about 1.5 inches off the roof, whereas on the older designs they were around 3 inches off the roof. Tesla's new panel has 18 individual power zones on each one compared to traditional solar panels that usually have 6. What this means is if you have a chimney or a branch or a building that shades maybe 1, 2, or 3 zones, the remaining independent power zones can continue to harvest energy at peak efficiency. So the wattage may only be up 10 watts from 410 to 420, but the overall efficiency should be much improved, and they're touting module efficiency of 20.5%. So these solar panels are of course made in the USA at Giga New York, and hopefully in the future Tesla brings back the solar deployed line on the quarterly slide decks, because for the last few quarters Tesla just outright removed it. So most importantly, Tesla has not abandoned its own solar panels, it's still pushing the tech forward, and even if this new leasing option doesn't take off, I still think this is a great sign that Tesla will likely be involved with those AI-powered satellites that SpaceX will likely be sending up in the years to come. Today, Mercedes said it's pausing its Level 3 driving assistance feature in the upcoming S-Class. And according to Mercedes, the new EQS will also exclude Drive Pilot. And of course, Mercedes is saying it won't be a downgrade, although we're going to Level 2++. They're saying it'll be like Tesla's, allowing customers to use it in a much wider variety of scenarios rather than being super limited. German outlet Handelsblatt said production costs and demand were not in proper balance. Instead, Mercedes is going to initially focus more on automated driving assistance, where the driver has to remain remain attentive. In short, Mercedes said there wasn't enough demand for this system and it cost too much. So effectively, Mercedes is backing off of its own in-house approach to autonomy, scrapping that, and saying instead they're going to focus on their partnership with NVIDIA, which means they're going back to focusing on that level 2++ with Alpamayo, and for them, any plans for level 4 or beyond will require LiDAR. David Moss, the legend that went coast to coast in his Tesla 100% on FSD, has now crossed 12,000 consecutive miles in a row without any disengagements, takeovers, red hands alerts, or anything. That includes all parking and charging stops. He hasn't touched the wheel since late November. And here's the photo confirmation, a true 100% on FSD. You may have seen last week that Lucid, Nuro, and Uber unveiled their global robotaxi at CES. And their announcement was they're now testing it on roads. But I wanted to save that one for a time like today, when we heard that Lucid CEO replaced the software team after the Gravity's buggy launch. So the Gravity, Lucid's most important launch yet, debuted last year with a raft of technical issues. So Mark Winteroff said, I basically replaced the whole software leadership team. We are working through this and we're actually very close. Obviously, all Uber is going to bring to this partnership is people. Lucid is apparently having all kinds of problems with the basic software in its vehicles, which means all of the tech prowess would have to come from Nuro for any robotaxi for this group. And not to belittle Nuro's accomplishments, but to date they've mostly just been a last mile delivery service, which, you guessed it, have been limited to pre-mapped geofenced areas, explicitly relying on HD maps. So I just think everybody needs to pump the brakes with this partnership, as Lucid only produced about 18,000 cars for all of 2025. And I really do hope this on-road testing goes well and leads to something. But by the time this vehicle is ready for deployment in one city, we're very likely to already be in 2027. And you probably saw Ford is targeting eyes-off driving starting with a $30,000 EV by 2028. Meaning Ford's gonna try to do what Mercedes just scrapped. Maybe I'm just a little fed up with all of the empty promises from the industry, but it just feels like most of these companies really have no idea what they should be doing. They're just throwing whatever at the wall and hoping something sticks. Tesla has a new job posting for an iOS engineer for the Robotaxi app. This role will be instrumental in building the user-facing features that define how millions of people interact with fully autonomous vehicles. This team is responsible for the core mobile experience that enables customers to summon, track, and interact with a driverless vehicle. From requesting a ride to enabling frictionless entry, from trip planning to real-time vehicle status and media control, your work will power the interface between users and their autonomous rides. You'll take full ownership of features from architecture design to robust implementation, delivering delightful and polished experiences that make Robotaxi not just functional, but magical. And they will also contribute to the broader mobile app experience used by millions of Tesla owners worldwide. Francis Energy is now the next company to white label Tesla's superchargers. The latest site in Norman, Oklahoma will open tomorrow, January 13th. According to EV Wire, Oklahoma is now the only US state that does not have Tesla running the show as the charging operator with the most stalls deployed. As of late last year, Francis Energy had the most with 716 ports, compared to Tesla with just 54. According to supercharge.info, Francis Energy is planning a few other sites in Oklahoma as well, where yes, they will be deploying more Tesla superchargers. And yes, these third-party owned white-labeled superchargers do show up in the Tesla navigation. You may remember a few months back, we talked about Suncoast in Florida white labeling their own superchargers. And along these lines, on the Tesla Motors Club forum, there's a thread going on. We have a gentleman paying for V3 superchargers out of pocket, a 100% self-installation. Tesla is charging 10 cents per kilowatt hour for 10 years of 99% uptime, and all of the maintenance is free. And this individual got a lifetime lease on the property from the city as long as these chargers remain operational. This program has already launched in the UK with 30 different sites live, and they look just like any other supercharger in the car and the app. This member said there's no free supercharging for those with lifetime free supercharging. They'll just get one time free at any third-party location. So no guarantee that's the case in the US, but it might be a safe bet until we get more official info. In the UK, all of the sites have a fixed price, and there's no discount for Tesla owners. And yes, the owners of these supercharger stalls can set their own price. Windy Drew, the owner of the site, said these are V3 pedestals with a V3 cabinet. And I'm sharing all of this because he did share, I'll be under $150,000 all in when all is said and done. Pretty amazing for 250 kilowatt equipment compared to the competition. 4 stalls simultaneously would be $1 million plus for the competition. That means all in landed, we're looking at roughly $37,500 per stall. This location is in Belleville, Kansas, and the owner did say that $150,000 number did include the concrete as well. So hopefully this business grows for everyone exponentially in the years to come. I'd imagine that the fee Tesla charges these companies for ongoing maintenance, like in this case 10 cents per kilowatt hour, will change based on the location and cost of electricity and so on. But Tesla will of course be making money selling the hardware at a margin, and the companies that own the chargers can set their own rates to ensure that they're making a margin over time. And of course the idea is that ultimately they get more customers by owners seeing these chargers in the in-car nav. And BP Pulse recently installed a 750 kilowatt mega charger at its first public e-truck depot in California. This site in Ontario, California will have 2 750 kilowatt Tesla MCS pull-through bays. And BP Pulse said our ultra-fast EV truck charging station will soon be live and open to the public. Some of you will remember that $100 million deal between BP Pulse and Tesla that initially focused on V3 superchargers. Well, apparently that deal is being expanded to include the megawatt charging system for semis as well. So Tesla is opening up its charging network and hardware in more ways than one. Not only can companies go buy V3 and V4 supercharging stalls, but they can execute the same idea for semi-charging as well. BP Pulse will own the site and the hardware, set their own pricing, and Tesla will likely charge a small per kilowatt hour fee in order to provide the ongoing maintenance and keep the uptime. And no, Tesla's goal here is not to make as much money as possible. It's to get the infrastructure built out as fast as possible. The Boring Company president announced some updates, and they said once the strip and downtown tunnels are completed and the system is completed, which will take a few years, Vegas Loop's Tesla fleet will grow to as high as 1,200 vehicles. At that point, the larger capacity Tesla Robovan will be introduced to the Loop system, mainly to be used during large events where several passengers are going to the same destination. I probably will shift to saying Robovan in the future, but the Robovan inside joke is fun to say. Morgan Stanley's new Tesla analyst said it's not even close. Tesla continues to lead in autonomous driving even as Nvidia rolls out new technology. He believes Tesla remains years ahead of competitors when it comes to autonomy. Nvidia's latest advances don't materially change its Tesla outlook, as building a full self-driving stack is measured in years, not months. The EV scene for the rest of the industry has been so bleak as of late, but Polestar had its sales rise 27% in Q4, and for 2025 it sold 60,119 cars, which was up 34% year over year. And many of you know Polestar is my second favorite EV company, as I love the styling of their vehicles. Polestar said Europe is absolutely the core and we see it works exceptionally well. We're just ramping up. It's all about Europe. Polestar has also reduced its emphasis on online direct-to-consumer sales in favor of a traditional dealer-led model. They've expanded their sales network by 50% outside China, where it shut all 30 of its physical retail sites. So yes, Polestar is still raising money and losing money, but the sales data for 2025 was somewhat encouraging. Tesla stock closed the day at $448.96, up 0.89%, while the NDX was up 0.08%. The volume was 13% lower than the average. Don't forget, check out Surfshark linked below, grab those free months if you're interested, and as always, thank you for considering supporting the channel. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.